So today, my lovelies, I've got a cracking wee pair which I'm going to show off for your viewing pleasure. Say hello to Samsung's fresh new Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE or Fan Edition. The regular Galaxy Z Flip 7 costs £1,049. If you want 256 gigs of storage, well, that rises to £1,149 for 512 gigs. Meanwhile, the Z Flip 7 FE is £200 cheaper, starting at 849 GBPs. But the storage is halved to just 128 gigs. And if you really want 256 gigs of the stuff, just like the regular Flip 7, well, that'll cost you just over £900, unless you happen to jump on one of Samsung's early bird offers. Do check out the link in the video description for all of that shenanigans. So should you treat yourself to the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7 or save a bit of cash with the Fan Edition and spend that extra money on booze, burgers and... no, that'll do actually. Well, I've tested out both of these pocket pals, so here's my full Z Flip 7 versus FE review. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now the Z Flip 7 here on the left is thinner than previous generations of Samsung Flippy phone and about a millimetre slimmer than the Fan Edition here on the right. Although as you can see there, it is a centipede's chuff wider as well, not that it really makes any difference. Both of them glide effortlessly into purses and pants alike, and bugger all difference in the weight as well, 188 grams versus 187. So they've certainly both got a decent wee heft to them considering how compact they are, but nothing as bad as a lot of recent flagships and certainly those big old bulky proper foldables. Zero hinge gap as well, as you would absolutely expect from a modern flip phone. Of course, the major difference in design is the cover screen, which I'll bang on about in a bit, but also if you flip these bad boys over, you'll see Samsung has gone with a matte finish for the arse end of the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7, whereas it's a shiny glossy number here on the Fan Edition. Now this unfortunately does mean it's an absolute grime fest. It gets pretty damn mucky, which is especially obvious when the light catches it just so. Whereas on the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7, it's only the cover screen that really gets encrusted in filth. And also the Fan Edition only available in two different colours, black or white, not the most trouser-rousing selection ever. Whereas the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7 can be snaffled in a slightly more thrilling selection of tones, including this here rather lovely sultry blue jobby. Now Samsung has apparently boosted the durability of the hinge for the regular Z Flip 7. It's now an Armor Flex hinge. And I gotta say, I'm not sure if it's a psychosomatic thing or what, but it does feel slightly more sturdy and solid than the hinge on the Fan Edition. Now there's not really much in it, and to be fair, they're both perfectly stiff, fna. So you can bend them almost all the way back before they finally flop open. Pretty impressive stuff. But otherwise, you've got the same Armor aluminium frame on both and a bit of Gorilla Glass Victus 2 front and back, just in a slightly shinier form here on the Fan Edition. And that's pretty durable stuff, so hopefully these phones won't absolutely shatter to bits if you do happen to drop them even onto quite a hard surface. And they're both IP48 rated, so you don't have to fret too much about dust and annoying small particles infiltrating them, while they can also be fully submerged in water, no bother. Now the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7's 4.1 inch cover screen is one of the big upgrades for this generation, stretching, as you can see there, edge to edge. Although this does mean that of course you've got those camera lenses poking right out of that display now. And as you can see, in comparison, the Z Flip 7 FE sticks with that same cropped 3.4 inch screen that we found on previous Samsung Flippy phones. And this certainly does feel a wee bit more squashed after you've been used to using the Galaxy Z Flip 7, but at least those cameras don't get in the way. And sometimes the full screen finish on the Z Flip 7 means that those cameras do get in the way of what you're trying to poke. So for instance, can't jab the subscriptions icon here in YouTube. But no worries, because Samsung has included this handy wee icon down here beneath the flash, which you can tap to reduce the screen size at any point. So it's more or less the same size as the Z Flip 7 FE, and then you can access whatever you need and then swap back if you want to. Now you've got Super AMOLED panels slapped on the front end of both of these flip phones, so those visuals are pleasingly poppy with full HDR smarts. And both dinky panels are perfectly crisp as well. The regular Flip 7 actually boosts the resolution to counter the growth in size, so they're both absolutely pin sharp. And I've certainly found that the tent mode is a highly satisfying experience on both the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Fan Edition as well. The likes of your notifications, your media controls, and also of course all of your control center shenanigans. Just a quick swipe or poke away. You can wake these phones with a quick double tap of the screen. The face unlock usually doesn't take too long to register your mug, a second or two at most. However, as usual, if you want to actually use a variety of apps right there on the cover screen, you will have to download the Good Luck Multi-Star tool. And Samsung does at least finally clue you into the fact that you can use Multi-Star to do this, but this setting is buried away inside of the labs, inside of the advanced features inside of the phone settings. Honestly, no clue why they don't just allow apps to be used from the off on this thing. Always got to make you jump through those hoops. And the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7's cover screen is actually brighter compared with the Fan Edition. Can hit 2600 nits at its peak brightness versus 1600 nits. Only really makes a difference if you are trying to see what's going on an extremely sunny day. In which case the Z Flip 7, if you happen to live in a nice sunny, lovely warm country, definitely go for that one. Oh, and also the cover screen has been upgraded to 120Hz here on the Galaxy Z Flip 7 versus the old 60Hz panel on the Fan Edition. So this thing feels as sludgy and slow as an iPhone. Ugh. Let's see if I can actually flip these buggers open one-handed, which is easier said than done, as I have like bugger all fingernails. Oh, thanks for that reminder. That's not me, unsurprisingly, that's my daughter. I've got all the musical talent of a Pawny Labradoodle or an Ed Sheeran. But anyway, bust these bad boys open, and the Z Flip 7 sports a slightly larger 6.9-inch internal screen versus the 6.7-inch panel on the Fan Edition. It is dynamic AMOLED 2X tech on both. Technically, the Fan Edition's screen is slightly sharper than its more expensive sibling, but you will struggle to tell the difference if you're just viewing video or editing pics on them side by side. But once again, full HDR10 streaming support in the likes of Netflix, nice crispy contrast, poppy colours, which you can completely tweak in the display settings, and they both hit a peak of 2600 nits, which is generally bright enough to see what's going on at all times, unless you've got some serious glare hitting that screen, because of course you've got the glossy reflective screen protectors slapped on there. And thankfully you do get 120Hz refresh rate support on both of these internal screens, so you don't get that sludgy iPhone experience. And both bendy blowers sport a stereo speaker setup as well, reasonably powerful as well, decent bit of grunt for a compact flip phone. And that audio still pumped through reasonably clearly, even when the phone is folded up, just sat on a table or whatever. You just kick it back with a bit of YouTube on that front screen. However, I did immediately notice when I was using the Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE that whenever you've got the audio pumping out through those speakers, the back end of this phone does rumble quite a lot. There's a lot of vibrations going on. Certainly more so than the regular Galaxy Flip 7, which still vibrates a wee bit, but nowhere near as noticeably. And that is particularly distracting if you're blasting your way through a bit of Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact or whatever, so I'd definitely recommend doing what I did and just slap on some Bluetooth headphones. Now, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 is the first phone to use Samsung's fresh new 3nm Exynos 2500 chipset, backed here by 12 gigs of RAM. And this isn't as beefy as certain Snapdragon-shaped rivals or MediaTek's flagship Dimensities. But the Flip 7 can run games like Wuthering Waves without having a complete meltdown, even if it does get a wee bit toasty. I would knock down those visual settings if you want a smooth experience, as the game did feel rather sluggish at times, but less intense fare like Call of Duty won't pose a problem. Meanwhile, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE makes do with an older Samsung chipset, namely the Exynos 2400, which powered last year's Galaxy S24, S24 Plus, and S24 Fan Edition, and that is backed by less memory, just 8 gigs in total. And gaming on the Fan Edition is even more sluggish than the regular Flip phone, and the game has been known to crash on me when things get a wee bit hectic. So I'd definitely say that the Fan Edition is better suited to some PUBG and other optimized mobile games. And that Fan Edition Flip also slightly less capable when it comes to connectivity. It supports the older Wi-Fi 6E versus Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.3 versus 5.4. By itself, of course, not a reason to buy the Galaxy Z Flip 7 over the FE, but another difference between the two is the battery tech. The meager 4000 mAh capacity cell of the Fan Edition has been boosted slightly to 4300 mAh for the regular Z Flip 7. And so I certainly get less battery drain fear with the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7, and in my testing I can generally make it from staggering out of bed in the morning to flumping my way back into bed in the evening on a single charge, albeit I will be balls deep in power saver mode by then. But that is with a good sort of 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, plenty of mixed use, and streaming lots of Spotify in the background, a reasonable bit of camera action as well. But of course, if you are constantly out and about shooting lots of photos and videos, uploading that shenanigans, or doing a good bit of gaming on the side as well, I would say maybe look to something other than a flip phone. Or perhaps have a squint at Motorola's RAZR 60 Ultra, which has an even bigger battery and did tend to last a full day, even with pretty intense use. And in a side-by-side battery drain comparison type situation, the Z Flip 7 can play back a downloaded video over and over for 20 hours on a loop from a 100% charge, whereas that is reduced slightly on the Fan Edition to around 17 hours. And there's also a bit of a difference when it comes to gaming as well. You can expect around 3.5 hours of full-on Wuthering Waves action from a fully charged battery on the Flip 7, whereas on the Fan Edition it can only manage around 3 hours, just over, before that absolutely keels over as well. But unfortunately, when it comes to powering them back up again, well, they are capped at 25 watts wired charging and 15 watts wireless charging. So don't expect to plug them in, go and make a cup of tea, and then come back and notice a significant difference. You'll actually have time to bugger off to a tea plantation, pick your own tea, come back, make a cuppa with that, and then it might just about be fully charged. Not really much difference on the software side though. It is a good bit of Android 16 fresh out the box with OneUI 8 slathered on top of that. Very similar experience indeed. You do of course have the usual plethora of Samsung's own services slapped on top of Android, like Health, its own Samsung App Store, Wallet, etc. However, if we dive on into the settings, you will notice if you go into connected devices that it is only the regular Flip 7 that has Samsung DeX support. That's not available on the Fan Edition. And a couple other differences here and there as well, like you got the video brightness booster here on the regular Z Flip 7. You got basically the same AI shenanigans, transcription, translation, yada yada yada. You got that now briefing stuff, which still recommends that I listen to chill out stuff, even though I'm more of a heavy metal kind of guy. So I think I will shun your mellow lo-fi morning playlist and chill out to a bit of Slaughter to Prevail instead. And both phones also support Gemini Live on that cover screen with a good bit of camera action as well, so you can say, "Hey Gemini, how do I look today?"
Based on the image I see, you appear to be well groomed.
Well groomed? Gemini's either drunk or gone momentarily insane. But anyway, regardless of your choice, you've got the same generous 7 years of OS updates and security patching with the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE, so they'll see you through a good bit of time, right through to the apocalypse by my reckoning. And as I mentioned back at the beginning of this heap of bollocks, there is a difference in the storage options too. 128 gigs is the base level on the Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE. That's doubled to 256 gigs on the regular Z Flip 7. You can hoy extra cash at Sammy to double up the storage on both to 256 gigs on the FE and 512 gigs on the regular Z Flip 7. So quite a few differences, as you can see, between the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7 and that FE model, but not when it comes to the camera tech, because you've got the exact same 50 megapixel primary shooter backed by a basic 12 megapixel ultra wide snapper. You can flick between the two with a quick tap down here like so. Otherwise, they both also offer a bit of auto zoom action. You can turn this on by stabbing this wee icon here, and then this will actually zoom in and out depending on how close or how far away from the lenses you get, although I've had mixed results with this to say the least. And sometimes when I step back from the camera, it actually zooms out even more rather than zooming in, and other times, as you can see, it doesn't really do anything at all. Oh, there you go. So yeah, we got zooming in on the FE and zooming out on the regular Z Flip 7 for some reason. Oh, is it gonna? No, it's gonna zoom back out again. AI, more like I bollocks. And it doesn't work for video stuff either, it's photo only. But the camera setup very easy to use, especially for your selfies. You can just tap to take a selfie. Otherwise, you've got the old palm recognition as well. As you can see, you get a bit of a countdown at the top end there, here on the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7. And if you are shooting a bit of video, you'll also get a cool little red flash up there by the camera lenses when it begins to shoot and also finish shooting, like so. And of course, you've got basically the same tool set on here, so you can slap on a filter, a bit of motion photo action. And they're pretty decent for your everyday simple shareable shots. Portrait mode usually does a pretty decent job, sometimes a little bit bulky with the old edge detection, but respectable capture even at night. Just expect the usual levels of Samsung processing naturally. Christ, taking some absolutely banging selfies on this as usual. And naturally, of course, you've got the usual AI-based photo editing tools, the likes of sketch to image, generative edit, etc. So you can use this to quickly erase irritating things in the background that you want to just get rid of. Or turn yourself into a comic book character, if that's more your thing. In my case, I appear to be a protagonist in a Grand Theft Auto game. And both the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 Fan Edition can capture 4K Ultra HD resolution content at 30 or 60 frames per second, but only the regular expensive Galaxy Z Flip 7 can do that with HDR support at the same time. But the stabilization is excellent on both. The audio capture generally fine as long as you don't accidentally muffle the old mic, as I've discovered. And you've also got the same 10 megapixel selfie cam stuck away on that internal display, which is pretty good if you do want to do a bit of video chatting action or whatever. Obviously, for everything else, just use the cover screen cameras because they are better. But anyway, that's enough banging on about flip phones for another year. So that's the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 Fan Edition. Now, as you can see, not much of a price difference between the two, especially when you take into consideration the storage gap. But the Fan Edition does feature quite a few downgrades from that dinkier cover screen, which runs at just 60 Hz, to the smaller battery. And is of course missing quite a few of the other features that you will find stuffed inside of the regular Galaxy Z Flip 7. So personally, I would say, certainly just for the battery increase alone, I would go for the Flip 7 over the Flip 7 FE. But what do you reckon? It'd be great to hear your thoughts on these two flexible morphos down in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone. Love you.